Our next step is to enable the users to add orders to our database. And for that, we're going to need a new model, and that's going to be the order model. Let's right-click on the models folder and add a new class, which will be called order. And we will clean up the file and start adding properties. The order will have an ID and will have a total price. And we say total price because it's going to be the sum of the products in that order. And it will also have a date time created date. And if we look into the Microsoft documentation, we can find a few different ways to scaffold a many-to-many relationship using Entity Framework. But the way I'm going to do it is I'm going to explicitly create this order product, which will represent an order product table in the database. And for each order product, we need to have an order ID, which will be a foreign key, and a product ID. So that's how we're going to relate the order with the product. And then for each product, we're going to have a quantity because we need to know how many of that product were purchased in each order. Again, there are several ways of doing this, and this is just one option, but you might find different ways in different tutorials. Now, previously we said that we can configure our models using data annotations, and we use that in products and categories. However, from here, I want to use Fluent API so that you get out of this tutorial with a more comprehensive knowledge of Entity Framework. And since Fluent API is also heavily used, I'm going to replace all the previous configuration, which was done with data annotations, with Fluent API. So back in the product model, let's remove all of our data annotations, but we need to add a collection navigation property. Navigation properties are properties that allow us to establish relationships between models. This category property, for example, is a navigation property. And we will also need a collection of order product in the order model. And I'm also removing the data annotations from the category model. And now there's a bit of work to be done in the products context. First, we need to add another DB set, and that will manage the orders. And we will add another one for the order products. Then we need to override another method from the DB context class, and that's going to be the onModelCreating. So we're going to create our own implementation of this method, and we're going to use the model builder class for the configuration of these models. So first, let's work with the order product model. So with this configuration, I'm saying that the order product has an unique key, and that key is a composite key, which means that it's comprised of the combination of the order ID and the product ID. And that will assure that a row for that column is actually unique. Then I'm going to establish the relationship between the order product and the order. And I'm saying that an order product has one order, and the order has many order products. And the order product has a foreign key, which comes from the order, which is the order ID. And we're going to do the same with products. So each order product will have one product, which will have many order products. And the foreign ID in the order product table will be the product ID. Then I'm going to establish the relationship between categories and products. And we are saying that one product has one category and the categories have many products. And the foreign key will be the category ID. Now, to make testing the application a little bit more efficient, and we don't have to add new categories and products all the time, we're going to change the way we create the database. I'm going to stop using migrations, and instead I'm going to create an instance of the DB context in the program.cs, and I'll call the methods ensure deleted and ensure created from a property of the context called database. And that means that every time I start the application, database will be deleted and created again. And we will also write some code to seed data into the database every time that happens. So we're going to pre-populate our tables so that we can easily test them. And we will do that by again calling the model builder.entity. And we'll say that this entity has data. And to this method called hasData, we're going to pass a list of categories with new category objects. And for now, we will only have 2 new objects, 2 new categories with the ID 1 and coffee and ID 2 and juice. And we'll do the same with products. We'll have 4 pre-populated products. So let's create them quickly. And let's see what happens when we run the app. The database will be deleted and created again. And let's see if it has everything we need. So we can see that 4 tables were created, and we can see that it's very detailed in terms of the properties. We have lots of keywords that were automatically picked up by Entity Framework. We have primary keys, foreign keys, we have not null constraints, we have auto increment. So a really well configured database with its tables with the help of Entity Framework. And if we choose to browse the data, we'll be able to see that the records were created. So we can see the categories and the products, which means that if we go to the app and try to view categories and view products, we can see them in our console. So using the ensure created method allows us to create a database on the fly without using migrations. And that's very useful for development. It makes things way faster when you don't have to delete the migration and run the update database command every time. But that's definitely something that I don't recommend if you are already using that app and you already have data in the database. So whenever a database is being used by real people, you need to keep track of its changes. Otherwise, you might lose data and lose control of these changes, and you'll be a nightmare to recover. So keep that in mind. Always use some sort of migration system when you have a working database. And I know this because I've learned the hard way. In the next chapter, let's add some logic so users of our point of sale can create new orders.